Good evening and thank you for joining us on News Sources Ladies Edition. Tonight we focus on the IEBC's preparedness to conduct elections on August 8th. I am Julie Masiga.
And I'm Sharon Momanya. Very good evening to you. On our Twitter poll tonight, we're asking you, do you think it's time that Kenyans accepted the possibility of a manual election? Let's take a look at the show's highlights before we delve into that.
The issue of technology, KIMS, is ongoing, is work in progress, and the very next event is that the technology must be in place before 10th of April. We are doing our best to make sure the equipment we require will be in place before 10th of April.
We might disagree, but we are not enemies. You might disagree with me internally in NASA. You might disagree with me externally out of NASA. But it doesn't make us enemies. It just simply means we have different and distinct visions of how to run this country.
While some are stressing you, KANU, chama ya baba na mama na vijana, are waiting to welcome you.
Now, IEBC has today terminated the 3 billion shilling tender for the installation of an integrated election management system for the August 8th polls. In a letter to French firm Jamalto SA, IEBC CEO Ezra Chiloba noted that the firm's bid was significantly above the budgetary provision. He also cited litigation as another reason for the cancellation, saying it had lost valuable time. Amended election laws prescribe that IEBC should have the technology in place by the end of March, which is just 1 week away.
But yes, IEBC, we are within our timelines. We are actually working to make sure that nothing stops us from giving Kenyans the election they are waiting for on the 8th of August. And I want to confirm to the country that we are within our timelines and we shall give this country a free, fair and credible election come the August 8th. The issue of technology, KIMS, is ongoing, is work in progress, and the very next event is that the technology must be in place before 10th of April. We are doing our best to make sure the equipment we require will be in place before 10th of April.
Right, welcome to the show. Before we start, let me just introduce our guests. Right by my side is Jessica Musila, Executive Director of Muzalendo. Welcome.
Thank you. Faith
Rono, friend to the show, Communications Specialist right here at Standard Media. And of course, Sharon Momanya. So today it's all about IEBC. And the CEO, Chebukati, they are very confident that everything is going to work in time, but it looks like time is running out and the technology is not quite working, Jessica. Do you read malice or just plain inefficiency?
I think the IEBC has been bedeviled with challenges right from when the commissioners left. And, you know, they have always been playing catch up. And of course, the court cases have not helped. And so, courtesy of that, yeah, right now it's like they're being caught flat-footed. For whatever reason, they're saying that they'll not be able to raise this. But I think they need to inspire confidence in Kenyans going forward in terms of what method that they're going to use for election results transmission. Because the opportunities actually for election, for using technology were two. One, registration, and then identification on the actual day. And the third one is actually at transmission.
Of results,
yeah, the rest was essentially it's a manual process. You know, we get there, we're given the paper, we should know is a ballot paper been already you know, ordered and stuff like that. But yeah, I think they need to raise people's confidence. Today, I remember people calling me and asking, "What's happening here? Are we going to go have an election really in August?" Because the doubts, people are starting to doubt that.
Right, and because Kenya, we're all about perception. It's how things look. So, Faith, do you think we'll have any faith in the outcome of the election, given that we've gone through all these technicalities, problems with court cases and procurement processes that they just can't seem to get together? Should we have faith in them, or should we have faith in them?
I like that, Julie. Actually, I think IEBC are caught up in a very difficult position because the Constitution as it is, provides a very, adjustable, measures. And so whenever we have, Kenyans feeling that, something did not go wrong, they move to court. And that is why we have all these litigations. I think Chebukati is really trying to inspire confidence in Kenyans by saying that, we are on track. But however, really, we were supposed to have this system in place 4 months to the elections. That is ideally 10th of April, like he said. That is like just a week and maybe a half to 10th of April. Can we get that system? Definitely no. They've not told us how they're going to manage this because the election laws, the Amendment Act, clearly stipulates that we need the integrated system. The manual procedure is basically a backup to the electoral system, and so we must have the integrated system. I don't know how they're going to do it. They have options. Like the procurement law is, we've had the identification, yes, and everything, and so. And we
apologize for faith in them. I want to believe that the commission has really demonstrated good faith and just practicality on how we are going to achieve all these things in terms of preparedness. But, at least by their utterances and by we want to believe that they have the best interest at heart because we don't want to be also scaremongers and whatnot. Right. But it just doesn't make sense how. What I would want to know, Julie, now is when we say that now. We can't have this integrated system. What then does it mean? Are we going to have, these separate systems then? And this is exactly what had brought about queries the last time.
Right.
The marrying of, the BVRs and the EVIDs at the time, that, there were problems with how compatible they were. Yeah. I didn't see them addressing that today, even as they were announcing that, now we are out of time, we can't do this. So these are actual questions. And because I think technology is a very big part of having a credible and fair election.
And peaceful.
Peaceful.
Yeah, and I think they definitely need to up their communication, right? Because even for a long time, people have thought everything is electronic, and so the political class has had an opportunity to politicize the whole discourse when they could have actually just come and said, this registration, this was what we do with this information once we get it. Then it is fed to this. You almost like do an infographic or something, share something in the newspaper and hand out that's saying these are the steps, and this is where it's electronic, this is where it's manual.
Right. Yeah. So let's just focus this debate a bit more. And on February 28th, IEBC cancelled the said tender so as to invite fresh bids, but was stopped after Avant International Technology went to the review board challenging the cancellation. Now, the system is meant to integrate the existing biometric voter registration, the electronic voter identification, the electronic results transmission, and the political party and candidate registration systems. With the fresh cancellation, are we looking at a manual voting system is the question we're asking.
We're supposed to have a mock election, 60 days to the general elections. Now, if you have not done the tender 4 months to the elections, it means every timeline that is proposed, including the testing, which is 60 days to the elections, will also not be affected. And therefore, all Kenyans should be very concerned about IEBC and its work. And maybe they should be advised that this is possibly an opportunity to either go into a direct tender because of the timelines and make sure that they comply with our proposals. 2 proposals. One, that all stakeholders must be involved. The political parties, civil society, under the law, so that they don't have these quarrels. And 2, my other concern is that the regulations that would put the integrated electronic system in place are still lying in Parliament. Most members of Parliament are now vying in the nominations. And therefore, it worries me that at some point in April, when either they lose or are busy campaigning for their seats in the nominations, we will not be able to pass the regulations.
All right, and so you see what Senator Mutula Kilonzo there says, a suggestion that perhaps they want to consider doing a direct kind of tendering process. Do you think this is it offers a prudent way of going ahead with this? I'll start with you, Jessica.
Actually, given the challenges we had in the last election, for me, I don't think it inspires confidence either, unless let's say we are told in another African context that this same system that is going to be sourced can be used in our context. And it doesn't, remember last time when they were asking for budget, actually, they were asking for a lot more than most of the other African countries. They had 45 billion, and so you're like, okay, so what is needed when?
Right.
And for me, even the idea of even voter register audit, that it hangs in balance with KPMG, having been thrown out. So what happens next? We are not having a sustained conversation around that. We need that clarification so that it will not be the other thing that the various political parties pick up and start waging against them. Because right now they're giving them fodder every day.
And I like a point you raised earlier that we actually first need to educate the electorate as to what extent what some of the processes are going to be manual and what is going to be electronic. And Julie, just this joint committee, that sat together, the Orengo and Kiraitu-led committee that, aided in the reconstitution of this commission.
Right.
They had a report, about the technological preparedness of IEBC and really had some really damning report about the existing machines. And just because I remember the BVR kits, they reported that 7,000 out of the 15,000 existing ones are faulty. And then we had...
that's about half.
That's about half. Yeah. And for the EVID devices, 34,000 we have. 12,000 are totally broken down. So we are not speaking to these issues. And then here comes a system that was supposed to integrate all these things, and now we are not having it.
Yes, that's what I was asking in the beginning. Is it malice or is it inefficiency? Because all roads seem to be pointing to either delaying the election to give them time to prepare, or direct sourcing all these things where people don't have a say, that the public does not participate in the procurement of that equipment. And also when Mutula mentions that all stakeholders have to be involved, that again is a long drawn out process.
It's going to take time. If they're going to do a single sourcing, that is a very difficult path to choose, because first we've had an experience in the past where we've gone single sourcing, and this was used by some sections of IEBC commissioners to actually loot money, and there's some cases in court ongoing. And so for me, single sourcing is not an option. It's not an option. IEBC needs to tell us what exactly do they plan. Now, when they tell us that they don't have the finances, that they don't have the time, remember that we had a commission. By the way, last year we had a full house commission. They left in December, maybe end of December, early January. I mean, we had a secretariat.
We still have the same secretariat.
Exactly. The Constitution is very clear that elections will be held on the second Tuesday of every August. On the 5th year. So we even knew the date of the elections. So what held us from preparing early enough? So now we are caught up, as usual, in a situation where we're saying, oh, we have to single source, probably because, and Kenyans, I will tell you for free, Kenyans will feel that this could be, another avenue for people to steal money, because that is what we have been treated to before. The confidence levels of definitely will go down if we're going to be told that we will go manual, which I don't think will be an option, because this is clearly captured in the elections laws. Yes. But yes, I think honestly, I think they will consider single sourcing, and they will use the fact that the unforeseen circumstances which is provided for in the law.
But does it not make it reasonable under the circumstances if they do that in such a manner as Mutula suggests, that is
yes,
involving all these stakeholders?
However, we need to be told who are these stakeholders, because these are politicians, these are MPs, senators, and we know the kind of suckers they get people into. We have the civil society and somebody moving to court, because of the freedom we have in the Constitution and the litigations. So it will still be, that
And not even that. I think this an election where we are, as the citizens, electing our representatives. So the opportunity is we are the ones to own the election, not anybody's an interested party running in this election as an aspirant. So when we let the political class control the whole discourse, it's a missed opportunity right there. And for me, I think it's time they start making us know and feel that they are inspiring our confidence and we actually own the process. It's not the political class, because it will become the one thing that they keep, getting people together riled up. And that time the kids are not in the country, or the way when people are busy fighting. I want a peaceful election, and I think it's they all have to speak to their own legacy, especially the Jubilee government.
If they indeed care about legacy.
I actually, it's a very unfortunate situation because Kenya. Remember the way the Esek Hassan-led commission were ousted, and people thought that bringing in place fresh faces would probably inspire confidence. And then, 3 months in office and we're seeing all these things, the kind of unpreparedness that is there, probably it's beyond their control because they don't have the finances and because of the litigation issues. But surely, I think like Jessica said, it's about the people. It's about the taxpayers who are even going to pay for that election. I mean, we're funding everything. And so they have to inspire confidence. They have to ensure. And in whichever way, IEBC has to assure Kenyans that this election will be, free, fair, and credible. Otherwise, we're going to experience what we've experienced.
Right. And on Twitter, we asked people do you think it's time that Kenyans accepted the possibility of a manual election? And Archie has just responded that asking Kenyans to accept a rigged election with the dead voting. Remember Kriegler report in 2007 and on the election violence. And Kriegler actually recommended to electrifying, let's put it like that, putting electronic systems in place because the manual voting system had failed completely. But now we come back to this place where we've amended laws again to allow for manual backup.
Exactly. So it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous because...
But okay, the voting was never electronic. So for me, what we should know is it's the opportunity that it is the registration, identification. That if they have, do they have that right?
And relaying of results.
And the relaying of the results. And so let's not get people riled up,
and the
mixed up the messages. So the voting was always manual. We are going to be given pieces of paper. In fact, the question we should be asking is, where do the extra pieces of paper go? If there happen to be people who don't show up on their voting day, where do they go? Because maybe that is an opportunity for corruption.
Right. But just sticking with the IEBC, we'll come back to it. Now, the challenges facing the IEBC did not start yesterday. Last year in December, the High Court stopped a tender to award accounting firm KPMG to audit the voters' register. In February this year, the courts nullified a 2.5 billion shilling ballot paper tender that had been awarded to a Dubai-based company. And today, the IEBC has cancelled a 3 billion shilling tender to purchase the Kenya Integrated Election Management System. Is this a commission that is ready to hold a general election? Right, this is the question we're coming back to. This is the central question, the central point. Are we ready? Are they ready to hold an election on August 8th, Sharon? Or are we just seeing like a system, a machine in place to move us until December?
Like I said, there seems to be a devil just lingering around this whole issue. But I mean, we still haven't audited the register. I mean, that's I believe the case is still was thwarted because they didn't want CORD protested the KPMG doing that whole audit. And I mean, that is a very crucial part of this all. I mean, first, very important in re-establishing the confidence from Kenyans that, we actually have a clean slate, we are going forward with actual things. And I mean, the question we have to ask, what were the timelines that this commission, has to achieve that before the August 8th polls. And what we seem to be doing every step of the way is just, pit setbacks and whatnot. So in terms of confidence, no. In terms of practicality also, nah. It doesn't just feel like it.
Chebukati has been reassuring us, reassuring the opposition that everything is fine, everything is on course, we're ready for this election, but we're seeing more and more that we're not. And then we have Ezra Chilobo on the other side, who seems to be a bit more realistic. So, Faith, do you think, let me ask you a Twitter question, do you think that Chebukati is the man to handle this job and take it till the very end?
Okay, I have had reservations about Chebukati, but I mean, I wouldn't want to delve into that. I mean, ideally, the commission as it is...
Why have you had reservations about?
I mean, because this is a guy who came in and we expected that, you know, probably he would even push for a supplementary budget for all these issues. And we are not seeing that happening. But it's very early to actually judge him. It's very early. But I would say that in terms of auditing the register and the case with KPMG, I think the case is coming up on, the ruling will be coming up on March 30th, I think, if I'm not wrong. And so that is when we will know whether actually KPMG is going to audit the register or not. The issues that had been raised by CORD, and we're going back again to politicians, by the way, is that, you know, they went to court to block, you know, KPMG from auditing this register because they were never involved. They're saying the political parties were never involved. And that KPMG is allegedly not... you know, is not experienced in some sort to audit this register. Now, the same CORD, the same political divide, are the ones who are coming out to say, you know what, IEBC, you're not doing this, you're not doing this, and yet they're moving to court. I think Mutula I think he's in court. I'm not sure, but I think he's in court. And today he's telling us that, you know, IEBC should tell us whether they're ready or not. And these are the same political parties who are moving to court to stop. I mean...
No, but it's a valid question. Given all these things that are happening, court cases included, it's actually a valid question to ask of IEBC because they look like they're a bit discombobulated.
Yeah, okay, I don't think they're ready. Definitely not ready. And there have been too many inefficiencies, which I think they just never planned better. But also we know the political class has also played politics the whole process in terms of giving budgets when they are needed, whatever, you know, for the different stages of the process. And so I'm not going to just accuse the political class or the IBC itself. I'm also going to accuse the political class. Because, you know, the purse strings, you know who controls purse strings? The purse strings is Parliament. So they knew all these things when they were, you know. So when let's say decisions were being delayed about after the different laws were written, or election laws were written by partisan committee, there was a whole delay right there which you couldn't quite explain why they were not just being effected. And so there are things that have contributed to IEBC being where it is today. And for me, it has been maybe a gentle nudging for certain things to happen, more just the chaos of it and take advantage of it. But where I think it's not a closed window. It's just that I think Chebukati needs to give us his A game. And right now, he's not. I was at the Devolution Conference where somebody actually stood up, a member of the public stood up and just told him, you can't continue talking like this.
You cannot keep on telling Kenyans that we are ready.
Please give us substantial, you know, information as to the key milestones and what you are doing around them, so that we get. In fact, sometimes we almost wish. What's his name? Ezra was by himself, because when Ezra was there, he was the only one speaking. It was consistent, you know, as to when the key milestones are happening, what's happening.
And of course, from I&M studio, we are hoping to be joining Dismas Ongondi, who is a former ICT director for IEBC. Maybe he'll help us answer some of these questions. We may be asking more questions about particularly our preparedness in terms of, you know, technology-wise. So we hope that he'll manage to arrive so we can ask some of these questions. But just to remind you, our Twitter poll tonight, we asked you whether you think it's time that Kenyans accepted the possibility of a manual election. Do you think it's time that Kenyans accepted the possibility of a manual election? And I just want to read some of your feedback. And we have MCA Gateto and Duati who says no. This kind of voting is past time and should not be allowed in our country, Kenya. Follow me, I follow you, says it's another alternative to rig elections, so not agreeing that is something we want to start wrapping our minds around. At a research says that no, IEBC should style up because time for election is bad. And Samuel Kimutai Rugut says, the rate at which things are going, we must now begin to accept it and engage effective agents to be on guard. So this is somebody who is warming up to that particular idea, saying that, but there should be systems around how that would be effected. Ogembo Joffrey says, we are digital. Let's do things the digital ways. Murakayo Calling says, actually, it's time because there might be mishaps here and there, is what Murakayo says. He thinks that it's about time we Kenyans started thinking about this. And of course, it's a conversation that we want to keep having here. So let's move on away from IEBC stuff. If we get our guest from our city center studios, we shall be engaging him on some of these issues. But let's move on now. And ODM chief Raila Odinga has rubbished claims that the coalition is facing an imminent split after its core partners Raila, Kalonzo Musyoka, Moses Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi failed to agree on who among them will face off with Jubilee Party's Uhuru Kenyatta. Raila claimed that reports of NASA leaders going their separate ways was a creation of state agencies such as the National Intelligence Service, which he said were working against the opposition. All right, so of course, now switching gears to start talking about party politics. And of course, there's been various critics about NASA's delay in naming, their flag bearers. Yet we know that they have a committee that is working a formula of what would be a possible winning strategy. And Jessica, do you think this is a good tack in delaying? It's a good strategy for them to delay, the continued wait. Kenyans continue waiting to see.
I think they're playing into their opposition, in terms of the government being able to use different systems to influence that discourse. But of course, we know that their reluctance to maybe come out and say what's happening on their front is also highlighting the mistrust, the betrayal, and the self-importance that has defined the Kenyan politician, because everybody's ego is at hand, and so it's a question of how, am I the pretty one here? Am I the one to go?
The fairest.
And of course, the last time, is it 2012, is it? Or 2002? Oh, no, I think it's 2002.
Not Rainbow Coalition?
Yes, Rainbow Coalition. Yeah, when Kalonzo said that he was betrayed.
Yes.
Yes. So because he has already been, once bitten, twice shy, you need to have, is like, okay, so let me have my bases covered before I can step out and just in case, let me have something, an eye on the works that I can use. Yes, I can use to bargain. Yeah? He believes he represents a big bloc, and I know that from what I've been seeing in the various polls, they know that they need him, whether he's the flag bearer, whether they need him as number 2. It is, yeah.
It brings in, brings in the numbers.
Yes.
And Faith, your audit of this coalition, because we are hearing so many different things that it's possible. Can they floor the incumbent?
Okay, fine. I think, like I've said before, they could be having a strategy, and they could be employing a delaying tactic strategy. But really, even from the polls, it's very clear that their support base are tired. People want to know who is the leader of this coalition. And then again, for me, I think even before they tell us who is going to lead that coalition, they should tell us what issues are they bringing for Kenyans. What issues are they
their agenda?
Yeah, because as it is now, we're just, it's all about China.
They do have a 7-point agenda.
Well, which is not really clear. They I don't believe in it yet. I think they should give us a proper agenda.
We'll pick it up from there. Faith, you make a very controversial point.
Yes.
But we want to take a short break now, but don't go too far. When we return, we continue with that and look at the opposition, plus trying to connect with our guests from our city center studio with regard to our preparedness for the August 8th polls. Let's take that short break now.